Good morning and hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar on basics of reliability engineering. First of all, I would like to thank you for registering for this webinar and taking your time to be here with us. Let me introduce myself. I am Gibson, Principal of the School of Postgraduate Studies at NTT of Bangalore. This session would be approximately an hour's time, so please do stay tuned in so that you get benefited on the learning. In case you have questions during our presentations, we request the participants to use the Q&A function so that all the questions could be answered. You can post in your questions at any time and we'll be happy to answer all your queries at the end of the session during the Q&A. Happy Teachers Day to all of you. Reliability is very important to make things happen, to improve customer satisfaction. So to give you a brief introduction on reliability, which is a vast subject, we will keep it short and give you a crisp note on what reliability is all about so that you can improve your skills on this level of activities which is very necessary in engineering. So to introduce this reliability engineering, I have great pleasure to introduce Dr. N. Ramani, who is today's speaker. For the last 53 years in the field of value engineering, product design and development, Dr. Ramani has made phenomenal contributions to the engineering arena and academia. A mechanical engineer with a post-graduation and doctorate from IIT Madras. He holds also an MBA from US. A strong visionary. He was one of the one who was instrumental in bringing TVS 50 model right from the concept stage to be a successful model in the market to satisfy millions of Indians and people abroad. He has authored many books in technology, rapid prototyping, and he has been a recipient of awards from the Institution of Engineers. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ramani. Dr. Ramani, all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. I have great pleasure in welcome all the participants. Now, it is said there is no leader if there are no followers. So there is no teacher if there are no students. So that is why we wish every student a happy Teachers Day. Today we are going to see the basics of reliability engineering next 45 minutes or so. Now, what are the topics which are going to be covered in this webinar are here. The answers to the following questions will be detailed. What is reliability engineering all about? What are its elements, constituents? What are the various technical terms associated with reliability engineering? Some of them, not all. And how do you differentiate between quality and reliability? And what is the importance of proactive reliability engineering approach versus the reactive? All these things we are going to see. Now, let us start with a small question or a request. Please think of a very good person in your life. You may know him personally or you may have read about him. Now, so if you have this person in your mind, now next question, what is goodness? Now, here you see in the picture, an adult hand holding a child's hand, helping. That is good. The person who is very good should be fair. Yes. Should be compassionate. Yes. Should be soft spoken. Should be approachable easily. Should be empathetic. Empathetic means we put ourselves in the shoes of another person. Let us say you are a manager and you are subordinate. I am asking you for a 1 week's leave, giving my reasons. My wife, I have to take care of her health. So you put yourself in the position and say, why not you take 3 days leave? Like that, you may ask, you may not ask. This is called empathy. Empathy means put ourselves in the other man's shoes and then look at the problem. And honesty. Without honesty, it can't be good at all. And sincerity. Sincerity is not to say everything you think, but to mean everything you say. It's a very important difference. And integrity. Integrity is given by the symbol 1:1:1. What we think, we should speak. What we speak, we must do. That is why it's called 1:1:1 integrity symbol. And of course, we have to have helping hands as the previous slide showed. And the highest result of education is tolerance. We must be tolerant to people's mistakes. And then trust. Trustworthiness is an important quality to be considered good. And of course, it is not badness, it is the absence of goodness which art in life is so depressing. So whiteness is measured in absence of blackness, like this. Always the contrasts coexist. Now let us see the analogy of reliability engineering with human health. Now health is very difficult to say who is a healthy person. Absence of illness may be a healthy, that may be a very simple definition. But see, our health condition is determined by body temperature, blood pressure, sugar level. So many things are there to embody health. Now, it depends on this lifestyle also. So lifestyle affects the health, and the health itself is physical health, mental health, social health, and spiritual health, etc., etc. Now, still we are on the topic of goodness. It is not badness, it is the absence of goodness, which in art as in life is so depressing. Now, we will define goodness in very simple terms as absence of badness, so that it is easy for us. Now, so health is, we said physical health, mental health, emotional health, social health, environmental health, and spiritual health. So health, we can say as a parallel, absence of disease or illness. It's a very simple definition to follow this capsule. Now, we say spotlessly clean. So spot is a negative thing. So the white shirt that he is wearing is spotlessly clean. So the opposite is used to describe the goodness of the shirt. A good person is faultless person, we say. So absence of fault makes a person good. Positivity means absence of negativity. If this is clear, we can proceed further now. What exactly is reliability in very simple terms? Reliability to be defined. Reliability is absence of a 7-letter word. Because of so many analogies that we have seen so far, if it is in a class, I would ask for answer, but now I cannot ask, so I'll answer myself. Absence of failure. So reliability is nothing but absence of failure. A product which does not fail is a reliable product. As simple as that. Now, but what is failure itself will have to be defined. Now, the pyramid of reliability engineering, in any structure, we can never see the foundation. Foundation is unseen. Only the superstructure will be able to see. This is a pyramid of reliability engineering. And what you see, enormous building is all supported by the foundation, which is hidden. Always the part which is doing the most of the job will be hidden. Like in a good, see, we always tip the server in a hotel, but the person who has prepared the meal probably is to be tipped, but we don't do that. Okay, so we have to have a strong foundation which is hidden. Then reliability engineering pyramid is visible. It has got, see, normally the pyramid that we see on photographs and videos, they have got 4 facets, 4 sides, but this reliability pyramid has got 7 sides. Now, first let us look at the foundation. The foundation must be strong. So we have laws of physics support the entire pyramid, and logistics, then multiple engineering disciplines, all kinds of engineering, mechanical, civil, electrical, electronics, everything. and mathematics, and maintenance planning, chemistry, and material science. These are the 7 elements of the foundation which is supporting the engineering pyramid. Now, there is a 2-year MTech course in reliability engineering at IIT Kharagpur. There is a great demand for reliability engineers throughout the world. Now, let us look at this is the top view of the pyramid. We are seeing from the top. So we can't see inside the foundation, we can just see the surface alone. Number 1 is availability. We will be defining such terms. What is availability? Number 2 is maintainability. Number 3 is obsolescence management. The product that we make should not become obsolete within a reasonable period of time. And configuration control management, and safety engineering, and support design and production engineers in developing these characteristics in the design and production stages. 7 is life cycle management. So this in short is the total ambit of what a reliability engineer is supposed to be doing in his career. Now how did the reliability engineer evolve? The early man, when he came on the earth, he needed tools to kill animals to eat. So that was an important consideration since time immemorial. The Kallanai Dam in Tamil Nadu was built more than 1,000 years ago. It is still functioning today. We are building bridges. They are expected to last for centuries. And the space shuttle, reusable, and naturally reliability prediction is important. And reliability prediction consists of analyzing, forecasting, planning, and predicting reliability. Now, you must have seen the Titanic film. The Titanic the so-called unsinkable ship sank on its maiden voyage from England to America. Why? It hit against the icebergs. Now, it is engineering terms, it is called brittle fracture. The hull steel, that is the body of the ship is called hull. The steel that is used to make the hull of the ship, it had high sulfur content. And when it meets with load, the water was almost freezing. So it made it brittle. And also the high impact load, with velocity, if it had stopped, it would not have collided, it would not have broken up. Even if it had touched it, nothing would have happened because it collided with full force against the iceberg. The damage, the hull was split into 2. Now, let us differentiate between continuous and continual. So it rained continuously last night means non-stop it rained. It rained continually last night means there was rain, but there is a let up, a short breaks again like this. This is called continual. So we have to be very careful in using the word continuous or most appropriate. Maybe in 90% of the case it will be continual. Because continuous improvement is extremely difficult. Continual improvement is possible. So reliability improvement has been continual of any products over last centuries you can take, but never continuous. Now, cycle times have been cut down very sharply over the years. In 1980s, 90s, we compare, let us see. What was month in 80s became weeks, became day, and now it is hour. Now I'll give you a small example. Say, in 1967, I got the appointment order to work in Germany in the month of May, but I could go only in September because of so many things which had to be done. We had to plan so many things like this. Foreign travel, what took months, now takes probably a day or 2. Cinema making, I remember when I was a kid, I'm 78 now, it used to take years, 2 years, 3 years, like that, not at all uncommon. It was common. But nowadays, they take even pictures within a week or day. Now, similarly, manufacturing, it used to take a lot days. Now everything is calculated in terms of minutes. Minute a car, minute a bike. The quality, continual improvement. See, not continuous, continual improvement. Now quality with time, it has been continually improving. See, the replacement of rings are a wear part in an engine. And I remember in 1960s, we used to make a lot of jobs for India Pistons. We used to make the liners, the cylinder liners for India Pistons for both indigenous use as well as export. And the re-ringing, after 100,000 kilometers, the re-ringing of the engines was necessary. But now it is 200,000, a 100% increase in past 40 years. Cost also has been continuously dropping. Not, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon, continually dropping. I made a mistake. I should not say continuously, dropping with time. Now, smartphone, you can see what was 5 years back and what is the same product now, or comparable product. Now, what about measure of quality? In a class, I would ask for an answer, but now I'll give the answer myself. Quality is measured by its opposite, by its counter. The measure of quality is in defects. Absence of defects means high quality product. So the target for defects is zero defect. No defect should be the target. Now what about target of quality? Let us see defects. So it is, let us say percentage defects, let us call it. Now we'll call it ppm, parts per million. So the target actually is zero defect, ZD. So measure of quality is defects and the target of defects is equal to 0. Now 1% is equal to dash ppm. The answer is 10,000. Let us see how 1% defects means 1 in 100, 10 in 1,000, 100 in 10,000, 1,000 in 1 lakh, and 10,000 in a million. So this is how modern day quality control is done. We express our defects not in percentage but in ppm. That shows that we have continually improved. What about variability? Let us say we have a part to be made 20 plus minus 0.1. Then we think that 19.9 is okay, 20.1 is also okay. But if the variation is less, the better quality is there. So variability is measured by one, precision, another is accuracy. Precision itself is measured by what is known as CP. CP stands for Process Capability Index. Formula for that calculation is tolerance divided by process variation. Tolerance, I said 20 plus minus 0.1, so 0.2 is the tolerance divided by actual variation. If the actual variation is 0.2, then CP is equal to 1. But if the actual variation were to be much less, 0.5, then CP is equal to 2. Better the number, greater the number than 1, the better is the quality. And so the formula is USL minus LSL, that is upper specification limit, lower specification limit. The difference between the two is called tolerance divided by 6 sigma. 6 sigma is the total process variation. What about accuracy? CPK. This is Process Performance Index. For that, the formula is X bar. X bar is the process mean. It may be 20 in this case, minus LSL, 19.9, so 0.1, divided by 3 sigma. Here it is 6 sigma, it is 3 sigma. Or it can be USL minus X bar divided by 3 sigma, and whichever is smaller. So here we got, there's only one formula. Here we got two formulas, out of which the number which is less we have to take. This is so far, variability is measured by both CP and CPK. This refers to precision, this refers mainly to accuracy. Now, with accuracy and precision, we have got two possible combinations. See, we have got low accuracy and high accuracy. We have got low precision and high precision. So with the result, high accuracy and high precision will be one combination. And high accuracy and low precision will be another combination, imprecise but accurate. And low, both are low, low accuracy, low precision. And then high precision but inaccurate, low accuracy is there. So we have got 4 combinations possible. What is accurate need not be precise, and what is precise need not necessarily be accurate. That is the message of this slide. Now, so let us see this same thing graphically represented. See, it is a target shooting board. We are given 5 bullets and we have to put it within this. This is called the tolerance. So everything should go within this round. So high accuracy and high precision. So this is good. This is ideal. This is where we should be always. Now this shooter, he has given 5 bullets. He has put one exactly in the center, the other exactly outside the target. So the X bar or the mean of all the 5 is exactly in the center. So he is called highly accurate but low precision because the spread is too much. This person is like me. He has sprayed the bullet all over the place. The X bar is somewhere here, wide away from the target, and the spread is too much. The dispersion is too much. Here, this person is quite precise that all are nested together but away from the target. He is highly precise but low in accuracy. Now, in machine tools, let us say one is A. Yeah, this is A. We are here. The ideal condition is this. This is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Now, B, we can move from here to here. We can move from here to there. Now, which is the easiest? Somebody will say C, somebody will say B, somebody will say A. But the correct answer is A. Reason, what is precise can be made accurate. But what is low in precision, low in accuracy, we can't improve because precision is a matter of machine quality. Precision is built into the machine in terms of bearing, accuracy, turning, etc. Whereas adjustment is got by the machine setter. Precision is built in the machine. So basically a machine which is precise can be made accurate, but which is lacking in precision, you can't do anything about it. So the correct answer is A. Now, measure of reliability. How do we measure reliability? Now let us look at quality. We already seen that is measured by its opposite characteristics, namely defects. And uniformity, we have seen precision and accuracy, CP and CPK. Reliability is measured by defects, field failure. Here it is defect, here it is called field failure. You have sold it, but it has failed in the field, and so that is a reliability problem. Now, what should be the target of reliability? So, target of reliability again is ZF. There it was ZD, here ZF means zero field failure. Zero, that was ZD here, here it will be ZF. Now, what about measure of dependability? Warranty. Warranty, see, warranty cost is a considerable cost to if the warranty cost is low, that much profit margin will be there for any manufacturing organization. So warranty must be LT. You may exercise your mind as to what is LT. LT is equal to lifetime of the product. Not lifetime of the owner, lifetime of the product. Now I'll share a small example with Toyota. Toyota started exporting in a big way after 1980s to America. Before that, the big three means Ford Motors, General Motors, and Chrysler Corporation. They ruled the roost of American auto industry, and they gave a warranty of 12 by 12, 12 months and 12,000 miles. That is about 20,000 kilometers. When Toyota started, they said 12 by U. 12 stands for 12 months. U means unlimited miles. So the moment Toyota entered the field, others got jittery because the quality is determined by competition. If competition gives you unlimited kilometer mileage, then you also have to, so Americans also had to follow the Japanese practice. So please remember, always reliability is not what we engineers say as reliability. Reliability is what customer says as reliability. Very, very important. Now, what about diagnostics? See, there may be defect, but the defect must be known to the user, to the consumer. So we saw all these things. Next is diagnostics. Measure is self-diagnostics. Customer should be able to understand. I'll give a small example of Volkswagen Vento, which was given to me by NTTF 6 years back or 7 years back, I don't remember. Yeah, it said there is no first service, free, second service, third service, free service. For first 1 year, you don't have to do anything. At the end of 1 year, you go to Volkswagen service station and get it serviced by paying. That is the sort of reliability they have built into the machine. It is so good. Whereas, okay, some Indian manufacturers, they will say every 500 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers. Here, unlimited kilometers, and then that is the kind of reliability that is built into the car. And also, the nowadays with so much of sensors, supposing tail lamp is fused, in the BMW, on the control panel, you will get a message, left tail lamp rear fused, like that. So here also in Volkswagen Vento, it shows when you have to go for service. It will tell you, depending on the time and also the hours of kilometers of usage. That is diagnostics. Now, what about, we saw customer self-diagnostics. Next is, we have seen quality, we have seen uniformity, reliability, dependability, and all of these put together, what may be the name you think? Normally in the class I'd ask you for, and this is called availability. See, all of you are computer users. Availability means it is measured by uptime. We don't want the computer to fail anytime at all. So measure is uptime. So what is the target to uptime? 100%. Whenever you open the laptop, it should work, that's all. That is the expectation of the customer. Now, what is availability? Uptime 100%, and target, uptime is the measure, target is 100%. That is what they differentiate between the two. One is the measure, another is the target. Now, what about technical performance? Technical performance measure is state-of-the-art technology. Suppose you have a computer which has got 8 GB RAM, and somebody is coming up with 16. So that is the state-of-the-art. But we want to also follow the state-of-the-art technology. We want to have the latest technology in our hand. Now, what about ergonomics? The measure of ergonomics is styling, ease of operation, color, user friendliness. It should be intuitive to use. Core features must be as expected by customers. That's the measure of core features. Now, what about delight features? Measure is unexpected features that delight customers, that thrill customers. All these things go to affect our reliability. Now, what is the measure of safety? Product liability prevention. See, somebody sues the supplier of the part for damages caused to him. So this product liability prevention is the measure. Feature expectation measures anticipating needs of customers. So that's a very important thing for all product designers to do. What the real customers need, because he may be able to express, he may not be able to express also many times. Now, we saw all these things. Now, we saw technical performance, ergonomics, core features, delight features, safety, feature expectation. The combined term is operational effectiveness. Operational effectiveness means these are the terms used in reliability engineering. All these things put together under that name. Now, why Japanese products succeed in a big way? That is because the quality continually increasing, improving. Life cycle, C means cost, life cycle cost. That is ownership, cost of ownership. It is not the cost that you pay to buy the product. Let us say you buy a car for 10 lakhs rupees. Let us say you use it for 10 years. And in 10 years time, you have spent another 10 lakhs towards this petrol, oil, maintenance, spare parts, servicing, insurance, etc. So the total life cycle cost of ownership, that is coming down continually. And delivery, the delivery must be improved. What is delivery? We'll see in the next slide. The quality ever improving, life cycle cost ever decreasing, delivery ever improving. That is, delivery means, supposing you order the car and he says next week, Thursday, you come and take it, sir, at 4 o'clock. Then at 3 o'clock, it should be ready on that day. Then you should not wring your hands and say, sorry, sir, it does not come tomorrow. That is not delivery. So that is one. That is one aspect. That's a very important aspect, delivery, but that's not the only thing. Throughout its product life cycle, we must support the product. That is called delivery. Definition of delivery is shown on the next slide. See, delivery means product as new, delivered without any defects, everything. And service after sales and cycle time for processing. You must execute the order as per your own stipulations, what you are committed to do, and sustained contact and interest after sales. See, many sellers, they do not worry about the customer after the sale has taken place. They forget. That is not delivery. So the success of Suzuki in India is not just due to its product quality alone, service support. Even they say, and in Himalayas, they have got service station now. That is very important. Now, what about operational effectiveness, measure and target? Measure of resale value of their product. That is a measure. Of course, it's very difficult. Suppose you bought a car yesterday, today you want to sell it, you will get 30% less. That is because of availability. So, high percentage of purchase price should be the resale value. Now what about graphical representation of human life? Let us see reliability of human life. Horizontal axis is number of years, life in years. The vertical axis is failure rate. Failure means death. Now let us say after 5 years, let us say after 8 years. Now in the first 5 years, see, this is death at the time of birth itself. And this is as a child something, this decreasing failure rate up to 5. And afterwards, A to B is reducing failure rate. And then we got a constant failure rate. This is a useful life. B to C. C, D is old age. What does the shape of the curve remind us of? It is looking like a bathtub. So this is called a bathtub curve. Bathtub curve is the reliability curve of any product. See, this is before dispatching to the customer. As a car is made, it is tested for any defects and then it is rectified before it is delivered to the customer. The customer, this is somewhere in the middle is the warranty period and this is the useful, and afterwards old age will set in. Now let us see the same thing, bathtub curve for a product. Time units, it may be hours, it may be days, it may be weeks, it may be months, it may be years, it may be decades. Failure rate, A to B, infant mortality, is called the burn-in period, especially electron or even engine testing. We will test for its performance before dispatching to the customer. This is within the factory, the first portion. And then we got useful life, B to C. Then C to D is wear out. This is constant failure rate. This is increasing failure rate. This is decreasing failure rate. Now warranty period will be somewhere in the, and beyond warranty it should have, and as a reliability engineer we must also track what is happening in the post warranty period so that we can improve the product and shift this curve. It will increase the length of the bathtub. Now, what are the important elements of reliability? Reliability, yeah, probably we must know something about statistics, and durability, that is life of the product, and dependability and quality over time. See, quality means quality as new. Reliability means quality over time. And availability, uptime versus total time. Reliability is defined as the probability that a product or system or service will perform its intended function adequately for a specified period of time or will operate in a defined environment without failure. If you buy a car, they will say this warranty ceases if you use it for racing, because that is not meant for use on a racetrack. Separate engine will be required. Now, what about correction of reliability problem versus prevention of reliability problem? We got the x-axis where a new product is being developed. We have the concept, then we design and develop the product, then we build it and test, and then we operate and support. And the vertical axis is cost in dollars. The cost of correction of unreliability. See, we have delivered the product. The customer says it's defective. We spend our time, money, effort to correct the product and restore it back to him. But this costs a hell of a lot. Whereas if we can do the testing within ourselves during the concept, design and develop, build stages, then the total cost of prevention of unreliability is much less. This is called reactive situation. This is called proactive situation. So proactivity is much better than reactivity in terms of cost and also image of the company producing this. Now, what is the difference between quality and reliability? Now, quality, does a reliable design automatically mean a reliable product? Because in a class I had asked for answer, now I'll answer myself. Yeah, reliable design is necessary but not sufficient for a reliable product. Why? The second condition is a reliable manufacturing. See, even if the best design is given, if the manufacturing is not reliable, then we can't get the reliable product. Okay, right? Not necessarily. We need a reliable service support to achieve a reliable product. If the service stations are not there in all nooks and corners of India, Suzuki would not have achieved such a great, prominent position of major manufacturer of India in cars. So reliable design supported by reliable manufacturing, both supported by reliable service, that will give rise to reliable product. So conclusion, reliable design plus reliable manufacturing gives you reliable quality. Reliable quality plus reliable service support in the field will realize the reliable product. Now, so reliability means quality over time. Now, a brief introduction to, I take this opportunity to introduce to all of you something about the School of Postgraduate Studies, where you can study for product design or tool engineering or tool design or quality, and in any of the 4 streams, you can become a reliability engineer, for which there is a worldwide demand. Now, on the left-hand top, you see a 5-storied building. That is the tallest structure in the Pina campus of ours. And we have postgraduate programs. It's called degree program, 2-year postgraduate degree program in tool engineering. It is 2 years in duration. It was started in the year 1983. Then, so far, 560 graduates have come out successfully and are placed in industries both in India and abroad. And then we started another 2-year program, postgraduate degree program in product design and engineering. It is also of 2-year duration in the year 1998. And so far, 272 BE graduates have post-graduated from this school. And then we started a postgraduate diploma in tool design program, which is of 1 year duration, which was started in the year 2002, and 606 people have graduated from this. And then postgraduate diploma in quality engineering and management 1 year program started in 2005, 154 have graduated. And all NTTF programs are recognized by the industry from the day one. These evidenced by the campus placement of all eligible students, as you will be seeing, starting in A to Z order: Ashok Leyland, Autoliv, Bajaj, Brakes India, Caresoft, Caterpillar, CN Technologies, Hyderabad, Delphi, Fiat, General Motors, Harita, Kangaroo, HCL, John Deere, LGB, L&T, Schneider, Subros, TE Connectivity, Turbo Engineers, and TVS Motors, Sundaram Clayton, Whirlpool, and there are 450 organizations which are tool rooms and tooling industries. They belong to an association called Tool and Gauge Manufacturers of India, which is founded by NTTF. It's called TAGMA. And all these people, they are in touch with our school, and the moment any vacancy is there, they will be in touch with school and they will take the appropriate person. So you can secure your future through NTTF PG school. I wish you once again, okay, before the last slide I want to show. Demand for reliability analyst and engineer. Need for reliability engineers is growing exponentially worldwide. Reliability engineers are always a smart choice financially, as it helps to improve the design and fault analysis in the early design stage. We have seen this. It is always beneficial for the organization to improve the design at the early stage rather than improving it post-manufacturing or mass production. We wish you all a very great future. Thank you. And now the question and answer session will follow. It will be moderated by our principal, Mr. Gibson. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ramani sir, for the wonderful presentation. I think each one of you would have got a brief introduction of what reliability is all about and how it can impact the daily products in our day-to-day activities around us. So coming back to the sessions, I also would like to thank each and every one of you who have been here. There are a lot of questions which are being asked, and this is the time for question and answer sessions. I would request all of you to put in your questions so that we'll be able to answer during this time. Now to take up some questions, I have some questions which is very obvious, which says, one Mr. Hanith Thalam has asked, what is meant by reliability? I think you would have got the answer by now. There is no question, there is no answer for that, because you would have already got the answer. So coming to Mr. Abhishek Kulkarni has asked, sir, why is there a difference in considering the 3 sigma and the 6 sigma?
Okay. Mr. Abhishek Kulkarni, the LSL stands for lower specific limit, upper specific limit, the difference between the two tolerance. Any process variation is plus minus 3 sigma. This is a process variation. And the vertical axis is the frequency of occurrence. If the spread is from LSL to USL, if you use the full tolerance, let us, I have given the example of 20 plus minus 0.1, so 19.9 and 20.1. If you use this full, that is plus or minus 3 sigma. So 6 sigma is equal to 0.2. Whereas in this case, here he is going to 6 sigma. So this plus minus is total variation is 0.1. Permitted variation is 0.2. So when the total variation is 0.1, when the permitted variation is 0.2, that is called 6 sigma quality. Now, so we can see one more. You can see the difference between 6 sigma and 3 sigma. On the left hand side, we got 3 sigma quality. The spread is full. The tolerance field is taken up fully by the process variation. Whereas here, the process variation is only 1/2 of the tolerance. So this is 6 sigma quality. Now you understand, this is 3 sigma, this is 6 sigma. I hope you answered Kulkarni sir.
Thank you, sir. That was wonderful. I think with the presentation, the clarity was still better. Thank you, sir. Mr. Manish has a question. Is there any other measures which are not opposing, like measures or standard for measuring quality and reliability? Is there any measures which are not opposing, like measures or standard for measuring quality and reliability?
See, as I said, quality is measured by absence of defects. So defects as new, we know, whereas in use, we expect the same quality to be preserved. That is reliability. Now, we can define both quality and reliability in engineering terms, but what the customer says, that is true. We have to take it at face value. So sometimes it will be interchanged, quality and reliability. So that is why we say reliability is quality over time.
Once again, I thank Dr. Ramani sir for this wonderful presentation, which has helped the participants to get a good insight on what reliability is all about. We from NTTF School of Postgraduate Studies would like to thank each and every participants for this webinar, and we wish that many of you can get benefited by joining any one of our programs, which can improve your skills after your mechanical engineering or any other engineering, where you can improve on focusing your areas on design, product design, or any other aspect where reliability is part of all these programs. Webinars will be available on YouTube and Facebook and other social media, and we would wish that many more webinars would be would be there in the coming days, where many participants can get benefited. Thank you once again, and happy Teachers Day to all of you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sir. Happy Teachers Day to you. You have been a sensational teacher for all of us. Thank you.